we are the jury of Tom Robinson's charge of Mayella Ewell for raping her. First, we should discuss on what went down in the evidence. So I say, does anybody have any main evidence they'd like to say first? Okay. Well, I will start. Mayella had said that she was raped, beat by him, and he came from the back. So then he then took advantage of her. Does anybody have anything to add from that? No?
Her dad, Robert, says that he saw it in the window.
But Robert is always
Drinking.
and drunk, so he could be thinking that, oh, I saw my daughter being raped, but he could have just saw something, as in how Tom said that he went into the house to help with the door, even though the door wasn't even broken. And he could have seen that in there, and then he could have freaked out and then ran, and then Tom ran away.
Or we could go to Tom's story where he was tempted by Mayella and he ran out of there as fast as he could, and then Robert beat Mayella for doing that and then blamed it all on Tom.
Yes.
Yes.
And then later on, Atticus tried to prove that Bob is left-handed and that Tom cannot use his left hand. So when you go back and look at Mayella's bruises, she was beaten up by someone who is able to use the left hand, which is not Tom.
He's crippled. Go ahead.
And Bob is left-handed.
Well, another important piece of evidence is that Bob did not call the doctor. He instead called Sheriff Hectate. And that is sus. Does anybody have
Yes.
anything to add to
He
that?
said that they didn't need the doctors, which I think he just didn't want to be like caught or like charged with. Well, I think that he did beat and rape Mayella, just didn't want to get charged with that.
I think that is correct.
And Sheriff Tate did not investigate. He just assumed that they were correct.
Mr. Finch did prove a good point that Tom was a very kind soul and did not lie a lot forever, and that Tom, with the people he had known, they know it too. Mason, do you have anything to add?
Just that Atticus took all the evidence, information that was given at the situation, took that all into account for with everyone's stories, and he thought Tom was innocent, which he is, and he defended that very, very well.
And if anyone found out that Mayella is Tom, it would be very bad for her.
Why can you elaborate what from the trial makes you think that?
Well, see, you really can't I honestly think you really can't say who was innocent and who wasn't, because Tom only had himself to prove stuff from, and he had nobody else there, but Mayo had his dad and Hectate, and Tom basically just had him and Atticus, but Atticus wasn't there. He just had to rely off the information that he was given.
I also agree with Michael because their family also had Mr. Gilmer who was defending her and just said what he got from Bob and just believed him. He was just doing his job.
Also, when Mayella was asked if she was ever beat by her father, she stuttered a couple times and then decided to scream and shout at Atticus, which then Atticus picked up on. And she was mad when they called her Mrs. or Ma'am, and she thought they were mocking him, which can also show that she did not have a very good home life.
I agree with Peyton. Atticus also asked her a bunch of questions, like where were the children, things along that line, and she wouldn't answer them because she really couldn't come up with anything else.
Also, when Tom was being asked by Mr. Gilmer, and Gilmer had said, "You were just doing things out of the kindness of your heart," it had been, he had asked him like he was suspicious, but then that they realized that Tom was just that good of a person, and that also helps Tom's case of why he would probably not hurt her.
Yeah, she had offered him nickels, and he didn't want to take them just because he was that kind of a person, just to help her out. But they saw that as
And he says he felt bad for her, and so they didn't really take that well. At he was glad that she was white.
Also, in Tom's story, if Mrs. Mayella always needed help with things, where was the dad? Was another question I raised, and why was he not there? Which he had said he had been chopping wood, I think. But if it's been more than just that time, so that does not help Robert's case. Well, also, when Tom was asked why he ran away, it wasn't because he was running away from something he did wrong. It was because it was unsafe for him to be there. And I think that can go two ways, in which either he was running away from what he did or running away from Bob because he knew he was going to hurt him.
yeah, he had said that he didn't want to be seen with a white woman, which is Mayella, and he already had some trouble with the police with disorderly conduct with another man, so he didn't want to get more in trouble with that.
And we see Atticus talk about how, like, if Mayella had been seen, like, with Tom, that it would have been the greatest sin she had ever, so she got rid of Tom with her evidence by claiming rape.
Mm-hmm.
What are the facts that can be proved? And that you feel Atticus ordered the prosecution?
Well, to group it all together, we know that Atticus can prove that Tom can't use his left hand, and that Bob can use both of his. We can also prove that Mayella was beat up by someone, but we don't know. We can also prove that Tom has been in a different position with the authorities before. Does anybody have anything else they can prove?
Atticus also proved that Bob was left-handed when he wrote his name on the envelope, and Mayella was beat so that someone was leading with their left hand while punching.
and the proof that Tom had been over to Mayo's house multiple times before this to help her. He said that she seemed lonely.
And that Mel did not have a lot of people that helped her with 7 kids, and that the dad was never there.
Yeah, for sure that they lived in a bad, home situation. I'm pretty sure there was 9 kids. Well, and then there was their dad, who was a drunken mean man. He's racist, so him being always out and leaving Mayella left with the kids is not a good situation for her. She just wanted her friend, so to help her out.
He talks like very badly to her, and like he was very unprofessional in the trial, which kind of shows like that Mayo's a little scared of him.
Which also can lead up to him abusing her. And how much time do we have left? I think that there can be the only things that cannot be proven yet is if Tom, if Tom was touched by Mayella, like he had said, or if,
Would be male really.
yeah,
And like I said, there was no like investigation. The only actual evidence they have is what Mayella and Bob are saying. So
Yeah, they only have witnesses' words to prove anything.
Including Tom's, right?
Yeah.
and you see that Tom is already like not well respected because of his race. So people are not gonna believe him over Robert.
So your duty is to prove is to decide.
alright, so we'll put it all together. Tom did or did not do it. But your hand up if you think Tom did do it. Okay. Put your hand up if you think Tom didn't do it. Okay. I think there's a unanimous decision here.
Why do you think he didn't do it?
Because there's no real evidence against him, and except for a ton of racist people yelling at him. And when they put all the evidence against Mayella, she just screamed racist stuff at them.
And the male was put on the spot. Pressurized the line, she just kind of blew up.
It's either Mayella is kind of like in an emotional state and might not know exactly like what she's claiming, and or like that she's putting some of like the risk in us.
I feel like she did want to tell them the truth because she, when asked these questions, if he did rape her, she stopped and hesitated. And was like looking at her in the movie, so she kept looking at her dad and was pressured to say the right thing for him and not for her.
So I feel like she was definitely scared of her dad if she told the truth.
And if she did tell the truth, she probably would have gotten beat.
She didn't know what was going to happen to her if she did tell the truth.
Another good question is, do you think Mayella was raped by her dad? She did say she got raped and got taken advantage of, which means that she probably still could have.
I think, yeah, you could say it because her dad's a drunk, and whenever Atticus would bring up the question, she would always just hesitate, not even respond to it. She'd just sit there and freak out.
So,
Can you prove that a rape was committed though?
That's
She was definitely beat, but we don't know if
the other fact of
was occurred.
if she was raped or not is she kept saying it over and over and that she took advantage of him. So,
But without medical evidence.
yes, they do not take her to a doctor or do a rape test, so they don't actually have.
well, you could take both for it. Maybe she just ran into a wall if she was beat. So, we don't really know if she
There
was
were
beat.
marks around her neck and her eyes
Yes.
black, so she was
I'm
beat.
guessing
Her dog could have attacked her. For
I
all
don't
we
think they
know.
had a dog.
Shh.
I'm guessing that what did happen was that Tom ran away. Bob saw them and probably beat her out. And then for him to get in trouble, he probably just said, "Tell them that he raped you." And so he would be in more trouble. And they wouldn't accuse Bob of anything.
I think when Mayella was unconscious, they told her what happened, and then she reported it.
We also know that Tom does have like a wife and kids, so it wouldn't really make sense for him to rape her.
That's why they didn't want to be seen. They had to come out. He didn't want to be in trouble.
And we do know that Macomb is a very quite populated town, and that they are very racist. So to see Mayella and Tom together would be good.
And that if they knew that Mayella did try to get with Tom, Mayella would probably be disgraced for the rest of forever.
There was already one family who had mixed kids, and they didn't have a good life.
Yeah,
Afterwards, they had their children.
Yeah, the mixed children, mixed people, they weren't really accepted by other race people. They weren't fully black and they weren't totally white. So they're kind of seen as either one by the opposing groups.
Gonna stop you there since you're at a spot and we only have 10 more seconds left. Okay, so, and I did forget to start the timer here, so I'm gonna restart that for the next group. But outside circle, what did the inside circle do well in their jury deliberation? Yep, everyone was talking. What else?
Just go off with multiple questions at once. They have one and the other.
Okay, okay, what else? Was a lot of evidence used.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were there good conclusions drawn from those pieces of evidence? And were they explained well enough?
Yes.
Okay. One thing I would point out that I want the outside circle that will then move inside to really understand. When you were saying, do you believe Tom Robinson is guilty or do you believe he's innocent? Remember the charge from the judge on the jury instructions. Your job, whoops, gotta get to it, sorry, is to answer this question. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Tom Robinson, committed the offense? So your job is to prove or to say whether or not the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's not, are they innocent or is he innocent or is he guilty? It's did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty? So keep that in mind as we switch. from outside to inside, inside to outside.
Is that question for like our group, or is that question for the
Who did prove him guilty?
That was for each jury.
We did.
So
Who proved him innocent?
Well, you,
Oh yeah.
yes, you said he was innocent, but there's a fine line between you believing he is innocent and because there are many trials where the individual jurors believe this guy is, I think he's guilty, but the state didn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. There's one teeny little doubt in my mind that maybe he's not. 99% of me believes he did it, but there is a doubt because of this one thing. That's the really tough job of a jury. Okay, so round 2, keep that in mind as you are beginning your deliberation. So switch places, clean quietly. Good job, guys. Good job of using your evidence, making your conclusions. And remember, you can also, once you reach your verdict, if you still have time, you may discuss any other ideas, comparing and contrasting today's jury deliberation to what you infer was what happened in 1935. And the difference between the original text and the movie. Those are things you can speak about as well. And you need to choose your foreperson.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Very good. Yeah. All right, are we ready? You may begin.
Okay, everyone, today we're going to be citing from all of our evidence that we have seen if we think that Tom Robinson is guilty of the rape charge of the yellow Ewell. So, first claim, Tom Robinson, does anything have to say anything about his evidence or why he is not guilty? David or Erica?
Just that there is evidence that it could have been Bobby because he was left-handed, and it shows that she was most likely by a female person.
Yeah, I agree with that because Atticus proved that Bob was left-handed, and there's a mark on Mayella's face on the right side. And there's also, they said that there's another mark around her neck. There's 2 handprints, and Tom only has one available hand, so it can be possible for him to put his hand on her neck. Danny, what do you think about that?
I'd have to agree with you because he said that when he was young, he got caught in a cotton gin, tearing up his muscle, therefore he would be unable to move. And if he did end up somehow making it look like there was a left and right hand print on her neck, if he were to lift his hand off of her neck to hit her, she would have a chance to run away. If she wouldn't have, but she didn't take that chance because she still got raped. And it was proven that Bobby Wool was left-handed, and he could have had a history of abusing Mayella or sexually assaulting her throughout her young life. He could have threatened her if she didn't go along with him in the during the time.
Atticus also made a comment about how Tom would have to come up behind Mayella to hit her on the right side of her face, so I don't think that would make too much sense. Yes.
According to my notes, there are bruises on both of her arms, which means there would probably have to be being held down with 2 hands, which wouldn't have been possible from Tom because he's disabled on 1 second.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. that Bob is left-handed and others will be marked on the right side. And Bob was, we know that Mayella lived in a harsh life, and Bob could have done things to her, get mad at her, and
I agree too, because if Tom did come up behind her and have to hit her, he would have to be in front of her, so Mayella would knew what was going on, would back away, but she didn't.
I think when Mayella was answering this question, she was very hesitant, and some of the times she couldn't answer them. Like when she was asked if Bob did beat her, she stuttered and really couldn't answer it. She started crying, and I think maybe her crying could have been a cover up for making them feel bad, the judge, and make them feel bad, and maybe the jury too.
When Bob was being questioned, he seemed to like bring up very little evidence and just agree with everything Hecate said, the sheriff, and he used disrespectful language. And usually, when he got real angry, usually when people get angry, that's because they don't want to be told as a liar or anything like that.
They're getting defensive. They try to cover up. Ayla,
When Atticus asked Noah if Bob ever hurt her, she kind of like stutters and then she like blows up like at everyone in the room, which could show that he possibly did and she was just trying to cover it up.
she didn't really answer the question, so
She avoided answering
yeah.
because she knew she would probably get hit by a father.
Yeah, that's a good example.
In the movie, she got real upset and started running away, and her father stopped him, her. He kind of looked at the judge and was kind of happy with the way his daughter was acting. I could kind of see because she must have done a real good job in his eyes. And, he knew he was going to win, so it didn't really matter. But he thought it would have helped. Maybe.
Also, when Bob was getting testified, he didn't show much emotion to when he asked to describe what he saw. It was basically just him making up what was in his mind instead of actually putting in emotions.
Yeah, during when Bob was testifying, he was he wasn't really calm. It looked like he was just throwing empty accusations out at Tom Robinson, and just like, he was very unprofessional in the way he was doing it as well, which, isn't really the, way you speak at court.
I guess Bob was a little dull about the story. He kept attacking Tom directly.
Instead of doing it to other people or saying it instead of kind of.
Well, I have some evidence that maybe can prove that Tom is guilty. Atticus asked Hecate what happened that night, and Hecate said that he found Mayella on the floor, in the middle of the floor. He said that she was pretty well beaten up, and that after that, Hecate helped her out and tried to go figure out who it was. And we know that Hecate is kind of a trustful man, and we've seen a lot through the story with Atticus and seems like a good person for stories.
Yes, but Hectate's information, the source he got it from, was honestly pretty incorrect because he got his information from Bob Yule, and Bob Yule could have been making that all up.
Yeah, but Tate said that he saw this. We don't know if that's true, but that's what he said he saw.
Yeah.
And it's also weird since sending kids who are young to get ice cream and they're not back yet.
And they didn't get a doctor, so there's no proof that she was right.
So
Well,
they just
don't-
They
made it
didn't
up.
do a medical study or not. So I don't know. I don't think there's enough medical evidence to prove that she was raped.
Going off of what Erica and Eli said about not having enough medical attention or evidence, Atticus points that out throughout throughout Hectate's and Bob Rule's witness testification, and he was saying after through all this running, you ran to the window, you ran through the fence, ran to the door, you ran to get Mr. Hectate, but after all this running, you didn't run to the doctor, and I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Hectate, and he said, well, we didn't need to because we knew who it was and what had happened. But they
according
hadn't,
to Boss.
according to Boss.
They said that they didn't need a doctor because it was obvious that she had been beaten. So they said they thought they didn't need a doctor.
That was her injuries and how they put it. It was clear that if it was true, she would need a doctor to make sure she was okay. There was bruisings.
The fact they didn't tell a doctor says a lot. And it seems that it's suspicious, and it could be that Hectate has to go there often.
And also, instead of calling the doctor, Bob could be hiding it and saying, instead of calling one and just say, oh yeah, it's Tom because he was the closest.
Mayla is asked how many times Tom went to the fence. Mayla's, I think she said that Tom only went in there a couple of times or maybe only once to help her with some chores. But then when Tom was asked about how many times he's been at the fence, he said he went there all the time to help her with chores and do nice things for her. And the time Tom was asked if he wanted to be paid, and he denied it. So it seems like Tom is a genuine guy, and he was just trying to help her out.
But he was also when Atticus asked Mayla how many times did she ask Tom to go in, she said just that. But when Tom got asked, he said many times, but I always denied it till up to a couple weeks because he felt bad because Bob was never around to help.
Maybe Mayla didn't want her dad to know that she was letting a black woman go to the house.
But she liked it.
I feel like Bob Yule was prejudiced towards Tom Robinson due to the color of his skin, and when he saw that Mayla was trying to get closer to him, he just decided to accuse him of doing something because the white man's always right.
There's a lot of racist background in Macomb, we know that. Presidents.
He probably knew. The reason he accused him was probably because he knew that Tom walked on the road to get to his house, and he, even if it wasn't him, he still probably would have blamed him. So because he was the only black guy he knew that would walk near their house for work, unless because Tom Robinson said that when he was questioned, do you know any other way to get to the fields? And he said, no, sir. Just that one road. Uh, maybe Tom, maybe Bob knew that.
Does anyone have any other evidence to prove him guilty or innocent? In the state or anything?
He's innocent because also Bob didn't let Mayla go to school, so that could tend to him beating her up every day. And so if she had marks left over, she wouldn't go to school with them. She would have to stay home when the other kids went to school.
I also feel like she's innocent. No, she's innocent. He's innocent because of there's no medical proof that anything happened to Mayella, other than the fact that she was beaten, which could very well be done by her father. And it's kind of proven that he didn't beat her because he only has one usable arm.
Photoshop and said that there was 2 handprints on her neck, and it was really hard for Tom to put 2 handprints before Mayla could get loose.
I think we should go around and see what people think. So, Tessa, do you think Tom is innocent or guilty?
I
Do you have any evidence for that too?
think he's very much innocent. Because he's proved that he was innocent multiple times with the beating. He's crippled, can't be hurt. And what you said about him being a genuine person.
Or
I agree. I think he's innocent because of what Tessa said. And then, so going off of what Max said, you'd think that if it actually happened, the first thing they would have done would have been go to the doctor to get proof that it.
well, I also agree. I think that Tom is innocent, mostly because of how he can't use his left arm. And there's marks around her neck. There's 2 hand marks on her neck and marks on the right side of her face, and I just don't think that'd be possible for Tom to make a mark on the right side of her face when his left arm is not working. I think Tom was just trying to help her out when they had guilt, and Ayala wanted a black man to just wanted to ruin his life. Dave?
I think that during Tom Robinson's testification, he said that she made a move on him, kissed him, and then he got scared and bolted. Maybe Bob Buell saw that through the window. Maybe Tom left out something, or maybe she didn't scream, and Bob came up, thought he saw a black man, looked through the window. Once he did, Tom bolted and he beat Mayella up for kissing the black man, and then he told her not to make. This is what I'm thinking would have happened. So he must have told her, "Do it again, and I'll beat you more." And then he had her say that it was rape and go against Tom. And instead of it being rape, maybe Bob beat her up and blamed it as rape too.
So we all think that Tom is innocent.
Yes. Yes. All right. Very good, guys. Good jury deliberation. Outside circle. What did the inside circle? The jury on round 2. What did they do?
A lot of opinions too.
Okay, drawing conclusions about the evidence, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Building off of one another's evidence and conclusions. What else?
They pointed out a lot of things.
Like,
Just different types of text.
okay, I would say they pointed out different points of view and different possibilities, which goes to evaluating point of view, being able to distinguish what can we trust, what should we doubt? Can we doubt, this one person says this, can we actually trust that? Is there part of it that we can trust, part of it that we need to doubt? Yeah, honing your skills of point of view, evaluating point of view is so important. And you guys are on your way to being able to do that effectively. That's great. Good job. We're going to reflect on our experience here today.